Everywhere. 79 gallery maintenance room. Ash and Nicky watchers like to organise in gallery in alarm sound.
Good boy. Right, come on, Stacey.
80 high strong. Exhibition room in total darkness. Alarms ringing. With a huge piece of African art from which Stacey emerges wearing skin-tight leotard.
I think when I first started thinking about episode 6, I knew we had to go out with a bang, like something that was special, just to kind of, because that's what Hustle is all about. We did it in the last episode of the first series. We did this huge horse racing thing. We actually worked The Wire, which is the con that they portrayed in The Sting, and did it so well. And I was always a little bit scared of doing that particular con, because it had been done so well before. And I kind of left that, and then at the end of series 1, I thought, that's the time to do that. And it was the same kind of feeling with episode 6 for series 2. It was, okay, we've done this, we've done some great episodes now, what's the big finish? And it is one of those things where you just say, what's the worst or best thing they could do? And remember, they could do that, they could nick the crown jewels, they could, and that's how it started.
The first star of Africa, 530.2 carats, also known as the Cullinan 1, because it's the largest of the 9 stones cut from the Cullinan diamond, discovered in South Africa in 1905. It's now set in the head of the royal scepter. It is priceless.
Tony Jordan's scripts are... I hate to say this because Tony, if Tony ever sees this, he'll use it against me, but Tony Jordan's scripts are genius normally. His scripts are more of a page-turner than I've ever experienced with any other writer. Often with his scripts, especially on Hustle 1, we've kind of grown used to it in Hustle 2, but you would read a script and be making notes, as you do on a first read, you know, and I constantly had notes saying, why is this here, where does this scene go, you know, what are we doing in this place? Why are we with this character? And by the end of the script, it's all tied up and it all makes sense. His way of weaving stories together is just unique, and Hustle is a big challenge. And I think particularly in series 2, where the audience have grown to expect a big twist, have grown to know that we're not giving them a straightforward story, that there is going to be a surprise at the end. And I think they're looking for that. And Tony's script, you know, even I don't guess what the end is going to be. So they're brilliant. They really are.
Can someone explain to me what's just happened?
You've got it in your head already. Every shot, every picture, every image you've got as you're writing it, because that's how I write. I don't... the mental process is not making things up. I never make anything up. I'm like a reporter. So I put those characters in that room in my head and I wait. And if I know the characters and I know their voices and I know what they're trying to achieve, I just listen to what they say. So I've already got the mental image and that's what I put on paper. I was trying to work out how to nick the crown jewels. So I was sitting with loads of yellow post-it notes stuck everywhere and drawing diagrams of what I think the security would be for the Star of Africa. So I'm thinking, okay, well, first of all, I'll be the security consultant. So I got a huge sheet of A3 paper, and I put a little circle in the middle, which was the diamond, and then I started working out what security I'd use. So I want a really big door, steel, time lock, no way in, no windows, don't want any windows, motion detectors. If anything moves in that room, I want an alarm to go off. And lasers. I want a cobweb of lasers, and then there was the dome itself, I want that alarmed. And so I went through that whole process of actually working out how to protect this diamond.
They've got motion detectors, lasers, CCTV, pressure pads, and a steel door with a time lock.
Belt and braces security, then.
So what's the bottom line?
Well, it'd been easier if they kept it in the Tower of London.
Once I'd done that, I put that to one side and then changed hats from security guard to thief. And then I had to break down my own system. And I'm sure, to this day, I'm convinced that if anybody, if I was under surveillance, someone would have been convinced I was planning a bank heist or something, because I looked like an armed robber because I had all these plans of security systems.
The set piece in episode 6 is something that we've not attempted before on Hustle. We had spoken to Tony before he started writing the script, because we'd had the idea of doing this quite big heist story, stealing a big diamond. We didn't really know what the ins and outs of it were going to be. Mission Impossible had been mentioned.
The theft of the diamond was difficult, just because there's a lot of things going on, and as a writer you have to understand exactly how it's going to work. You have to bear in mind all the technical difficulties. For example, when Mickey Brooks is being lowered, I realised that as they lifted him, he'd kind of swing over onto the pressure pads that were around the thing. So it's like, whoa, I'm going to need another rope here. I'm going to need something else so that he can be held while he's lifted over that and then slowly fed in over the diamond. So you kind of have to have a whole new discipline. Rather, I'm used to writing for character, for story, and now suddenly I'm kind of a mechanics engineer trying to work out how to get, this mass body weight up 12 feet and then across without stepping on these bits. And you have to take all that into consideration, because if it doesn't work on the page, it ain't going to work. And I don't want a stunt coordinator or anybody else trying to make my scene work.
On reading the script, we had a meeting with Andy Bradford, who is our stunt coordinator, who is fantastic, and he's very much the type of person who thinks about what works for the script and on screen, rather than what's easy and achievable. So we together had a meeting. I think there were me, my line producer, the executive producer, Andy, a few other people. Our first assistant was there, just to kind of talk through the logistics of it, and it became apparent that we had to build a set. Finding a location that fitted all that we needed would have been nigh on impossible in the time that we had. So Paul Cross, who's our production designer, built this amazing space with I can't remember the height of the ceiling, 24 feet or something, that fitted the stunt. Andy was very involved in kind of working out how that would work. And then I had to speak, well, actually before any of that happened, I had to speak to Adrian Lester to find out how he would feel about dangling upside down from a high wire in order to steal a diamond. And he just jumped at the chance. He was ecstatic.
When I first read episode 6, I had to read it again. And then I thought, wow, this is fantastic. We normally start shooting any series on the basis of on 2 scripts. We only have the first 2. And then number 3 is coming while we're shooting. So while you're shooting, there's this excitement, oh, what's happening in episode 3? Then you get 3, you read it, and you know what's going to happen. Then 4, then 5. And so 6 was the last one. We were all waiting to see how we're going to end this series. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I imagined, the only image I had in my head was Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise and doing the whole wire thing. And I thought, how the heck are they going to do that? What are we going to build? How are we going to do it? And building the display room and the display case and the rigging and all of that, and another soundstage, looked fantastic. Looked absolutely fantastic.
To me, by the time I write fade out at the end of a script, it's shot. The trouble is, it's up there. Then you have to give it to someone else, and I know that there is no way they're going to hit. No director is going to hit the same images as I've got in my head. That's why you have some writers who can't bear that, and so they direct themselves. Now, I actually like to be surprised and see new images, because then I get the fun that everyone else is getting of watching the bloody thing. So it's great.
John Strickland is someone who I've wanted to work with for a long time. I worked with him a few years ago when I was a production secretary on something, a BBC drama, and he is fantastic at what he does. The brilliant thing about when I met John was finding out how much he loved Hustle. It's rare that you meet somebody that watched, every episode when it went out, particularly somebody in the media. But John had watched every single episode and was a massive fan of the show. He's got a real visual eye, and he's very filmic, and kind of achieving a heist episode on a BBC drama. I wanted somebody who would get that look right, and John was kind of involved in every stage of the process. I mean, he joined us very late, considering his availability problems, and he has been wonderful at working out how to, piece all the shots together in the time that we have. And we worked out, kind of very shot-specific ways of getting the heist scene. We did a day with the lasers, with Jamie, kind of trying to get from one side of the room to the other, and then the next day was the high wire, and John has done a brilliant job with both his episodes, and with episode 6, just getting that filmic feel into our last episode. He's done a brilliant job at it.
When I first read episode 6, I thought it was an exciting, page-turning read. It was an action-adventure heist movie in a 60-minute TV script, which is always the challenge with these shows. The first thing I did when I came to realise these scenes that had been written, the heist scenes, is to check out from people like Andy Bradford, a stunt coordinator, whether they are technically possible or not. We had, in theory, 3 people breaking into a room, which is easy enough to do, but then in real time they had to fire grappling hooks over pieces of metal way up in the ceiling. They had to then use winches and ropes to haul a man 12, 15 feet into the air above a diamond, then lower him down, then lower him up, and then bring him back without touching pressure pads that are all around the diamond. So basically, is this possible? So we then sit down with Andy and work out what is possible and what isn't possible. And in fact, it was all possible. And we worked our way out of, when we built the set, that we constructed a big sort of lighting rig to hide some very strong scaffolding which went right through the set, about 24 feet up. So we had the strength in the metalwork to actually physically support a man. And then the next thing, of course, is, well, do we need stuntmen to do that? But Adrian, being the fitness fanatic that he is, an all-round lithesome man, he was more than willing to do this stunt himself.
I suggested that it looked great to flip a guy upside down so he comes in head first and works, as it were, upside down, if Adrian could do this. And I'd done commercials upside down, hanging from cranes in a straitjacket and chains, so I knew the sort of implications of hanging a guy upside down. And some people, even stuntmen, do not like being hung upside down, especially from height, even if we're only working at 15, 16 feet. We weren't much higher with him. And it needs trust.
For the wire work and going upside down and everything, because of insurance and everything like that, the producers and the stunt coordinator were quite worried. And they spent ages asking me what if I was okay being upside down. And I said, yeah, I'm fine being upside down. So people, no, but are you really okay being upside down? I said, yeah, like, put me upside down, it's fine. We think you should come to the stunt coordinator's house and hang upside down for 5 minutes. Why? Because we just want to check. I said, okay, where's he live? Hampstead. You need to drive all the way to Hampstead, hang upside down for 5 minutes, and then go home again. Yeah, that's like 2.5 hours from where I live. But we'd feel much better. Look, I'm fine hanging upside down. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. I went, okay. Weeks later, memo comes along. Adrian, would you mind hanging upside down? Just so we feel better. It's like it's heavy insurance thing. So I had to hang upside down, basically. And he put me upside down, and it was fine. And I did a few things upside down, and that was okay. He said some people panic when the blood rushes to their head and they're upside down. They go, I can't breathe, or whatever. But it was fine.
Carry on.
never a moment when he questioned the safety aspect. You had to check things, double check things, test things, but all the fixings were good. We used the best equipment we could get hold of, and the harness was a good one. He was happy, and I think he did a great job. I mean, there was never a moment when I felt, oops, a bit of a blip here. Never a freaky moment, which can happen, and, you know, tension, lighting, various things, staying there, come down a bit, lower a bit, you know. So I'm on the set, communicating with the guy out of shot, trying to get a vision on what's happening on the set. So it's quick calls, but luckily I've got a guy I've worked with a lot of times, so that wasn't a problem.
The stunt coordinator, Andy Bradford, is great. I think that, you know, he's paid to worry that everything's absolutely fine. So there's always extra padding, there's always extra bits for your hips, there's a double wire connection just in case something goes wrong. It's all, you know, that's what the job is. And he's brilliant. He's so physically fit. I don't think there's anything he can't do. And he's always up for everything. At one point we had to pretend to push Mark Warren, Danny, into a river. So when are you going to push and we were doing various shots, and Andy went, "Shall I do it?" It was freezing. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning. And we said, no, it's fine. He said, "But you need the shot. I mean, I can just suit up and just get, all right, wait, no, it's all right." Very, very eager, very, very keen. No, he's a good bloke, Andy Bradford, and he made sure at every step of the way that we were very, very safe and also well prepared to do what we had to do.
We have to be 100% safe doing big stunts like this. We don't want stuntmen hurt, we don't want actors hurt, we don't want our crew hurt. We want a totally safe environment, which is why we employ stuntmen like Andy Bradford, wiremen who rig up the hoists and wires to keep our actors or stuntmen up in the air. And having got a very safe working environment, we then see what the actors would like to do themselves. With Adrian Lester, who's a very fit, agile athlete, as well as a very good actor, he wanted to do it all himself. And so he had a training session with Andy at his home, being supported on wires and moving about, being shown the sort of things that he would need to do, the sort of moves he'd have to make in order to achieve the script, in order to remove a glass dome on top of the diamond, and then go back and take the diamond out, so on and so forth. So safety is of paramount importance, because after all, it's make-believe, it's television, you know, it's not real life. It shouldn't be dangerous in any way, shape or form.
Everything that's shot is me doing it. For rehearsals and for lining up the camera and everything, because I had a camera on a crane which could do a 360, and had to get all the focus points right and know how high I was going to go and everything. Then a stunt guy came in and suited up and got in the harness, and he did it. And he was hanging there for ages while they got the lighting right and the focus right. And I mean, I couldn't have done that because it hurt more than anything else. The harness was designed so that you could actually sit in it like this and be hanging from your middle, but you're in a kind of a seating position. So as soon as you invert yourself, the grip is purely around your hip bones, and it squeezes them and then pulls them down while you're hanging upside down. That's what's holding you. And after a while, actually about 15 minutes, the skin began to get very, very raw. So every time, I think it's maybe the first take is fine, but every take after that, every time I went upside down, the pain, it was agony. And then I had to smile and just pretend like that I couldn't feel it and do the dome and the diamond and everything. And actually, I was in agony because it was really pinching right in there. But I'm a soft, very sensitive actor. That's probably what it is.
On the filming day, we had a crane with a hothead camera, which is a remote control camera, to allow us to film Adrian coming down on the wire, but then to also invert the camera. And basically what I wanted to do is make the audience feel like they were going up and down this wire themselves. At some point, Adrian inverts his body on the wire, and again I wanted the camera to be going up and under and round him, just to sort of make us feel the height and the danger of what he was doing. It worked in 2 or 3 takes. We had 2 different cameras filming at once, and with any schedule, I think we had half a day to do it no matter how many takes we had, whether if it turned out to be one take, that was our half-day TV schedule. What they do on a week, 2 weeks in Mission Impossible 2, we have half a day on a TV schedule to do. But that doesn't daunt us. We go for it, and I think the end results are pretty exciting.
No matter what the budget and no matter what the restrictions of time, everyone pushes themselves to make sure they get that feeling of a mini film on television. You have an hour's worth of film on television, and all the money gets put on the screen.
Adrian had the most of the action-filled stuff. He was in a harness and swinging from the ceiling, which he loved. And he was limbering up and kind of getting very excited about. I had to wear a very skin-tight black catsuit, which I had issues with. But once I got my head around that, it was fine. There was a stunt woman and dancer who came in who was kind of showing me the moves to weed through all these sensors. But the schedule was so tight that the only time she came in, showed me what to do once, and then I didn't really have a chance to work with her again. So that was unfortunate. But I think we kind of managed to pull it off anyway. It was great.
Go, go, go! Get out! Get out!
No matter what happens on screen, it can be the biggest explosion, it can be the most fantastic sequence or car chase. Behind it, lying quite close behind all of that, has to be an emotional through line. Otherwise the audience aren't watching a story, they're watching special effects, or they're watching the latest car chases from whatever, all collected together. It's very, very necessary to keep an emotional through line going while you're doing these stunts, and make sure that when Mickey gets hoisted up, even though you can't see his face, you can see his eyes. When he sees the diamond, there's that moment of, so you're back in the story. This is what he wanted to do. It's working. This is going fine, and he gets it. And he has to be reminded by the other guys of his team, by Stacey and by Ash. Come on, hurry up! And he snaps back in and takes the diamond.
Okay, it's on now. Would be good.
These little moments help the audience stay hooked in, because you don't empathise with events, you empathise with the emotions that lie behind the events.
Any action movie needs character at its heart, because that's what keeps you on the edge of your seat. You're on the edge of your seat not to see if the car will make it across a ravine, but because of who's inside the car. And if you've got the emotional investment with the character, you're worried about whether they're going to live or die or succeed or get caught or fail. Your focus is with that character, and that's what kind of makes your buttocks clench. It's like, quick, hurry up, get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way, only because you care about the person. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're just leaning back and thinking, oh, that's a good shot, oh, the wire, yeah, I like the wire, that's really good. And so it's just not going to work, and you just end up with nothing really. It's just kind of, it's clever trickery, but with the emotional investment in character, that's where the real kind of enjoyment comes from, I think we achieved that in episode 6.
In episode 6, particularly, there's so much action stuff, and it's all kind of based around suspense and kind of, the business that goes on. But I think that, character is still important, because if it, it has to be Stacey in that situation, because, if I tripped over and lasers went on, I'd probably have a heart attack on the floor, kind of go to pieces, whereas Stacey, deals with the situations as they arise and kind of takes it in her stride, and she's so accomplished. I mean, there's nothing that girl can't do, whereas, I'd probably be, in some, dirty old prison right now if it had been me in that scenario.
I'm very involved in the editing process because I used to be an editor. That's where my background was an editor at the BBC for a number of years, working with some great directors on some great dramas. I always think it's a bit of a pain having me as a director in a cutting room with an editor, because it's very hard to sit back and not get my fingers on the scenes themselves. But at the same time, it's much better for me to be in a cutting room, sitting back, getting an overview of a scene, and seeing the contribution that editors make, which is huge.
Our shooting script, which we read at the read-through, had another quite big stunt in it that we had tried to make work. It involved the diamond had been stolen. We'd done all the kind of high wire work. We'd done the lasers, and the gang, Mickey, Ash, and Stacey, all get up onto the roof, as we see in the programme, and a crossbow is fired. And originally, as we read at the read-through, we were going to see all three of those artists on what's known as a death slide. I didn't realise it was known as a death slide until our stunt meeting with Andy Bradford, where they all kind of, you know, go across the wire from one high building to another. It showed how they escaped from the police, and it showed how somehow they would have got to the policeman's ball.
Ash looks down a slightly lower roof, aims and fires crossbow with wire attached. Then he appears on the lower roof, takes wire, secures it and wedges. Ash secures crossbow with something rigid, then hands each with a strap with 2 hand straps. They take it in turn to put straps onto wire and slide down to the lower roof. Ash is last to go. Once he reaches the other side, he disconnects the line.
Sometimes scenes are dropped because there's not time. Like I said, the time is the thing. There's not time to shoot them. So the scenes are dropped and the lines are incorporated into a previous scene or a following scene. So there's lots of squeezing going on. And then sometimes even if you do shoot everything, you end up with an hour and 20 of the drama, and you need an hour. So they have to chop a lot of things out and try and have the story, keep the story the same. And then the actors always throw their tuppence-worth in and slightly change the odd line or two. It's not spoken as it was written, per se. You know, we might change the odd the, switch words around, whatever it makes it feel more natural to you.
My whole life started flashing before me.
My whole life started flashing before me.
I just left school. I felt a strong hand pulling me up.
I just left school and I felt a strong hand pulling me up.
It was Mr. Stone. He's saying my life.
There he is. There he is. It was Mr. Stone. He saved my life. Thank you.
I think Hustle has been great for me as a writer, because I've actually seen what I've put in a script actually appear on the screen. A lot of times that doesn't happen, but I think that it's a faithful representation. What was on the page is actually what's in the screen. I think part of the reason for that, I think that's twofold. One is that the scripts and the plots are so intricate and so detailed that if you take one piece out, or if you swap 2 scenes around in the edit, or if a director makes that decision, the whole thing falls apart, because the plots are so intricate. And the second thing is, everyone here gets the show. You know, Jane Featherstone, the executive producer, Simon Crawford Collins, Karen Wilson, the people that are making the show, and the directors we used, all get it. And we're all trying to achieve what's on the page, and that's great for a writer.
I do have a good buzz about this series and the final episode. I'm, again, an actor, so there's always things like, oh, I should have done that better. Oh, I should have done that. I should have done that. And if I had it to do, I'd do all these things that, to me, would make a great big difference, but to the director, they just look exactly the same. It's always the way. So I absolutely am pleased with it, and all the cast show that pleasure and show that the fact that they're happy with everything that's going on, happy with the episodes, and happy with what they're doing in them by saying, yeah, let's try and do another series, let's do another 2 series. That they'll hang around and wait for that, and we're all of one mind. We're absolutely on board for another 1 or 2, if it happens, series of Hustle.
When I first read episode 6, I thought it was a good episode, although I didn't think Stacey's part was big enough. But I think that throughout the series, really, I think they could make more of Stacey, or possibly get a spin-off show of some sort. The Stacey show, I was thinking. But anyway, I'm talking to Tony Jordan about that. But I thought it was a good episode regardless. Lots of action, and a great way to end the series.
It was wonderful to do it and get all the costumes and the bags and the crossbows and the running across the roof at night, and I'm like a big kid when I do all that stuff, and I thought, now I can get paid for it. I used to do that for free in the garden. Now I can get paid for it and do it and hum to myself, dun, 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 and you get to freeze frame and look cool.
I've just started writing the first 2 episodes for Series 3. We don't know there's definitely going to be a Series 3 yet, but I think the chances are pretty good.
I and the cast are very excited about the prospect of taking it even further. So yeah, I think it'll be great if we get it. I'm keeping everything crossed.